Hello, my friends. All right, so this is the divine union of masculine and feminine video number 2A. Okay, so watch this video all the way through. I'm going to give you a very important, it makes me laugh, a very important trick, ladies, to again get men to do what you want them to do. Wait until the end of the video. I'll tell you where to go to learn how to do that. So this is the divine union of the masculine and the feminine, and we're going to talk about Odin and Frigga. So the impetus for me to make this series was, number one. I mean, this has been a very important subject for me for a really long time. And it's, whenever I have the opportunity to talk about the interplay between masculine and feminine, I love to do it. And so when people ask me about it, I talk about it a lot. And but what's really brought it up is I've just recently become more aware of this, what I consider to be a relatively new teaching about twin flames and the real interplay between masculine and feminine. And just as I did with the Manifestation Mastery course, which was a result of me listening to teachers talk about the law of attraction. And the more that I realized that that was an inaccurate teaching that was actually getting in the way of people manifesting, I became motivated to create a whole teaching about that. So, I mean, if you're already subscribed to that, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you can go to thunderwizard.com and you'll see the different subscription teachings. And so what I do is I come on here to the YouTube channel and I give you a lot of background and teaching and knowledge. And for those that want to get deeper, they can subscribe and learn. And this, now we're getting into the union of the masculine and the feminine, and the teaching about the twin flame. There's a lot of truth to it. So I should share more about the truth about that. But there's some major inaccuracies in that are going to get in the way of your understanding of the interplay between masculine and feminine, which can affect your relationships. It'll affect your spirituality, affect your mental and spiritual health, as well as your ability to manifest. You have to understand how these work. So today we're going to talk about how this is shown in traditional spirituality. So here's what you need to know about mythology. Right? Today we're going to be talking about Odin and Frigga, who are the main gods in Norse mythology. The king and the queen of heaven in Norse mythology. And true mythology is teaching that is transmitted from the gods, from the ascended masters to humans, to teach them holographic truths about reality. It's not just cute little stories that are made up. And true mythology will be timeless. In other words, it won't matter if you're looking at the same myth 10,000 years ago or 10,000 years from now. It will always have the same relevance. That's how you know it's true mythology. And so we're going to be talking about Odin and Frigga. Now, Odin and Frigga are the king and queen, respectively, of heaven, according to Norse mythology. Now, each society has its own karmic spiritual strength. If you were to look at the king and queen of heaven in Vedic mythology, or in Greek mythology, or in other cultures, they have a different karmic purpose to teach. So while there will be similarities of the divine interplay between yin and yang, male and female, masculine and feminine, there will be things specific to that culture. So Odin and Frigga show the specific karmic gifts that are naturally inherent in people who are either raised in or who are ethnically connected to Northern Europe, Northwestern Europe. I won't get into that because that has to do with the the original four tribes that went to populate the earth, and the mastery of the four elements. I won't get into that. That's a whole other teaching. But Odin is the masculine, and his name translates as he who consists of the fire of self-awareness. Wod en. Wod is just like wow. In fact, I'm fairly confident that the word wow came from the essence of Wod. Wod is the essence of shamanic ecstasy, the fury. Now, it's not fury because he's angry and wants to cause harm. It's the fury of self-awareness. It's really the ecstasy of self-awareness, which to those of us who aren't that aware, when we experience it, it might be frightening. So we call it the fury. One of his names is Ug, which means fearful, meaning fearful to look at. But it's fearful because the intensity of his shamanic awareness, his self-awareness, is so bright and so intense, it creates fear in us because we're not prepared for that. Now, his wife, his other half, his twin flame, because they are definitely twin flame, the yin and yang of the highest essence of heaven in Norse mythology. His twin flame is Frigga. And Frigga is the mother. She is the quintessential mother of the universe. They call him the Allfather. And she is the quintessential essence of the mother of the universe. And so her name, Frigga, means beloved. And it comes from the same root, in fact, it's cognate with the Sanskrit goddess called Priya. 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 Frigga, Priya. And it's very simple because if you know how consonants and vowels change between the Germanic, the Proto-Germanic, and the Sanskrit, which are, by the way, the same language. They're both dialects of Indo-European, even though if you took Sanskrit and you took modern day English, which is a Germanic language, you wouldn't be able to understand each other. It's still the same language, and when you look at it, you can pick it apart and see that. And so the Germanic people, the northwestern pre-Christian tribal people, are descended from the same original root culture that the Vedic is from, and that's what we call Indo-European. So in that language, the Indo-European language, the word for beloved is Priya, Frigga, Priya, Frigga. And so Odin, he who is consumed with the fury, the ecstasy of self-awareness, his opposite, twin flame, his feminine side, is the beloved. Now, before I get into this, you probably heard me say this, but I have to say it. Listen, scholars, like guys in college who look at stuff, they really don't. They have limited knowledge, and unfortunately, a lot of modern day pagan and heathen teachers also have this limited knowledge, and so there's this controversy about whether or not Freyja and Frigga are just the same goddess. They're not. I'll talk about Frey and Freyja another time. But Frigga is Priya, and it means beloved. So you have what could be, if we look at the twin flame idea, the two sides of the same coin. You have somebody who's completely wrapped up in his own self-awareness. He who consists of, Odin, he who consists of the knowledge of self-awareness, the shamanic awareness of self-existence. And then Frigga, the essence of love. So love for others. So you have in here this teaching about, on the one hand, in order to truly evolve, you must be focused on your own self-awareness. You can't, like Jesus, Odin was very clear with me. He thought Jesus was a coward because Jesus sacrificed himself for other people's awareness, and he thought that was absolutely, demeaning to do that. He would never have taken away man's ability to bring about his own self-awareness. So he's all about doing it for yourself, for your own glory and your own self-awareness. Don't let other people do it for you. It's the warrior mentality. And the opposite of that is Frigga, who is the mother. Now we know about her absolute commitment to all of reality in the mythology of how her son Balder, which represents the soul, how Balder ended up being killed by his brother Ignorance, who was tempted by Loki. And that's a whole other thing we won't get into. And when Balder died and went to the underworld, which, by the way, for him, because he was a self-aware being, he went to enjoy a party. It wasn't punishment at all. I mean, so the underworld has both positive and negative depending on your own view of yourself. If you go there fully comfortable with yourself, then the underworld is a party. If you go there with self-doubt, with shame, then you create your own hell to whatever degree that you have to work through. You create it. So he ended up going to the underworld, and everybody in heaven was weeping at the loss of the light of the sun. The soul was gone, and they were very sad about this. And Frigga, of course, because he was the most beloved of all of the gods and all of her children, which represents that the most important thing in the universe is your soul. So the gods look upon your soul as the most amazing, beautiful, wonderful thing in existence. And they actually weep when souls come into manifestation and become humans, because then they're separated, because now they've got their own, they've chosen to incarnate to experience reality. The gods weep over that because they miss your bright, beautiful presence. So Balder went to the underworld, and he represents the soul of the universe. And so Frigga, out of her love, went to go and get him back. So she went to Hela, the goddess of the underworld, and said, "Please bring him back, please." And Hela said, "Listen, for you, Frigga, I'd do anything, but unfortunately I am bound by my vows. I can't, unless you can get every being in the universe to weep for him." Now, the thing you need to understand is that if you know that myth, the myth of how Balder went to the underworld, then you know that Loki had a secret that he knew, which was he had overheard Frigga telling somebody that the reason why Balder was, and the myth, I'm trying not to tell too much at one time, but the myth goes that all of the gods used to use Balder as a party favorite. And they'd sit around and get drunk on mead, and then they'd say, "Hey, watch this. Hey, Balder, come here." And they'd throw fireballs at him, and they'd throw spears and arrows and hatchets and swords, and everything would either just bounce off of him or explode, and like Superman, he'd stand there and nothing would touch him. And they thought that was fun, and they'd laugh and all that. And Loki was very offended by that because they weren't appreciating the value of the soul. So that's how he tricked Honor, the brother of Balder, to kill him. And what it was is they put a sprig of mistletoe on the edge of the arrow that the blind brother of Balder was aiming with Loki's help, and ended up killing him. And the reason was because Frigga had gone to every single being. We're talking every single being in the universe. Can you imagine the effort that it took for her to go to every single being, every single god, every single rock, every single pebble, every single tree, every single animal, every single element, every single molecule in the universe, animals, whatever, anything you can imagine, whether, she went to everything and said, and got them to promise her that they would not harm Balder. So when the gods are taking, let's say, an axe, and they're going to throw an axe at Balder, the molecules of that axe have been given an instruction by the mother of the universe to not harm Balder. So as that axe is coming flying at Balder, that axe is being an axe, but the moment those molecules come anywhere near and start to touch Balder, they have to, because they made their promise, self-destruct. So that axe would just split into a million pieces. Not necessarily because Balder can take it, but because the mother of the universe has gone into every molecule, every fiber of everything and said, do not harm my son. And that molecule has said, yes, mother of the universe, I will not harm Balder. Except for mistletoe. And the reason for that is because according to Frigga, who is the mother of all things, including mistletoe, Frigga believed that mistletoe was too young to know what a vow was. So even in that, she gave that being, the mistletoe, the right to learn and grow on its own. So that means she believes that the rest of existence had enough maturity to be able to make their own decision. And so they, everything in the universe willingly chose not to harm Balder. But mistletoe, she could have told mistletoe, don't harm Balder, but she thought it would be damaging to mistletoe because it was too young. It didn't have the awareness to be able to know what a vow was. And so she said, it's too young, I'm not going to make mistletoe. So she figures everything in the universe except mistletoe, so we're good. We got nothing to worry about. She's going to watch over Balder, make sure that, he doesn't drink or touch mistletoe, and he'll be all right. But that's where Loki comes in and shows the ignorance and the pride of everybody, including Frigga. So that gives you an idea of how much love that she has for the entire universe. She is Frigga, the beloved, love. So we have these two halves of the masculine and the feminine. The one is self-awareness, complete, total union of the self, and the union of the self in the infinity of the universe. The only God who is able to go to all of infinity is Odin, because Odin sees no separation between himself and everything. Now, Odin is actually Shiva. He is the Germanic manifestation of Shiva. How do I know that? Because they both share the same name in Indo-European, which is Ug. In the Norse, it's Ug. In Sanskrit, it's Ugra. And it means the same thing. It means terrifying. So Shiva is Ugra, and Ug is Odin. Odin rides on the 8-limbed horse. Here, you can call this Yggdrasil, the 8-limbed horse, because these eight branches go from the center and show the 9 worlds. Here you're looking at a representation of the 9 worlds. This is where we are, and these are all the 8 dimensions outside of it. He has an 8-legged horse that he slips into. The name of his horse is Slipper, Sleipnir. Sleipnir slips into all of the 9 dimensions. That means that Odin is mounting the entire 9 worlds of the universe, which are also your spinal column. It means that Odin has mastered the kundalini of the spinal column. And so he is in everything, and he's achieved that through his own self-awareness. And then you have Frigga, who loves everything, can go into all of the molecules of everything in the universe, whether it's an idea or a being or an essence or something tangible. She goes in. Her love penetrates into all of it. So here we have this union, the yin and the yang. And you see this is why men come across as being very selfish and very self-absorbed. And this is why women in the feminine at its highest level is loving and nurturing. But it's two halves of the same thing. When you understand that, you can see that. So, I told you that I was going to share with you, and this is going to come from mythology, the Germanic mythology about Odin and Frigga. I'm going to share with you something about that. Oh, before I do that, I need to say something else before I get ahead of myself. Now, there's something really interesting. So, as I teach it, and you can go to thunderwizard.com if you want to learn the mastery of shamanism. You will learn as you study I'm going to find it here, the thunder wheel. The thunder wheel is basically the 9 worlds. You're in the center, and then the 8 other directions. And this is important that you master this in order to be able to do any kind of real shamanic work, any kind of real magical work. You need to have a working knowledge of the 8 directions, the 9 worlds, the 5 elements, and all of that. And that is taught at thunderwizard.com at the entry-level subscription. And so here's a thunder wheel. Okay, so in this we have north, south, east, and west. Now, as it so happens, Odin is Mercury. If there was a planet associated with Odin, it would be Mercury. Mercury is the highest, Odin represents the highest awareness of the intellect merging with the mind and the soul. And so the direction for Mercury is north. Odin sits in the north because he is the guide that can guide you into the realms of the celestial waters, the realm of the mist world, the world of the clouds. The north represents the waters of life that have not condensed into reality yet. It represents pure potential. If we were to go into the northern world, the world of the mists, we would disintegrate into a mist ourselves, because energy there has not solidified into any kind of manifestation yet. So Odin sits there because he has the ability to completely annihilate his essence, his ego, and still hold on to his self-awareness. And so he can guide us through that. As it turns out, Frigga, she is seen, one of the ways that we see her at the spinning wheel, spinning the clouds. And the northern direction is the cloud world, the mist world. That's what Niflheim means. It means the mist world, the cloud world. And so she is the one who creates. She is the source of the essence of creation that has not been manifested yet. So listen, I'm not making this up. I didn't know that. I didn't know that when I started putting all these things together and realizing, okay, Odin is Mercury, and Mercury's in the north, and the north is the this, and that's why Odin, blah, blah, blah. Well, our ancestors knew. They didn't even have to say placed her in the north. It just naturally comes out. She spins the clouds, which are made of mist, which means that she is the creatrix of that pure energy that has not been manifest yet. And from that, then we go into, the next world, which is the northeast, where energy starts to manifest in form. But anyway, go to thunderwizard.com if you want to learn that. You can sign up as in the shamanism course there. But as I said, I'm going to give you, go to thunderwizard.com, scroll down to the divine union of masculine and feminine. If you're already subscribed at the manifestation mastery course level, you can upgrade. It's just $2 more per month. You can upgrade, and then you'll have access to this teaching here. So go to the B video. I'm going to tell you the one way that you can get your man, if you're a woman, if you can get your man to do whatever it is that you want. And if you're a man, you need to understand this, because when a woman is truly in her power, she's going to naturally do this, and you're going to run around and think you're making all the decisions, when in reality she's the one making it for you. But you will thank her for it. if she is at the level of the goddess Frigga. Anyway, that's it for now. Go to thunderwizard.com, and the number 2 video for the divine union of masculine and feminine, the B video of number 2, will be there waiting for you. I'll see you over there.